Hello, my name is Bree, and today we're going to talk a little bit about three pieces of art from the classical period that I found very interesting. The three themes that we're going to go over are a piece of religious art, a piece of funerary art, and a piece of art for propaganda. So I hope you find this interesting. Thank you very much. The first piece we're going to go over today is the religious piece of art. This piece is called The Last Judgment Tympanum. It was created mid-12th century, around 1130 to 1135. It is located at the Cathedral of Saint Lazare in Autun, France. It was possibly created by the French Romanesque sculptor Giselbert. It could or could not be true, but there's a little signature on there that says Giselbert made this. This piece is carved out of stone and depicts Christ enthralled among angels and other Christian figures. This cathedral was also believed to contain relics or the bones of Saint Lazarus himself. Saint Lazarus was actually Mary Magdalene's brother and was resurrected by Christ himself. These relics were thought to have powers that could shorten one's lifetime in purgatory and have all these other incredible magical powers. Here we see Christ looking out in judgment from the entrance of the cathedral. The entire outside creates kind of a story because people were a lot of times illiterate back then. So it was able to create a story through pictures. The left side is the side that really represents like the heavenly side. We can see Adam and Eve as well as the Virgin Mary, all the souls that have been safe and ascending to heaven, and they're nude and in pleasant postures. But on the right side, we see the souls that are damned and going to hell. There's demons pulling them down. It's terrifying. There's like horrible, scary faces. And the Archangel Michael is even weighing the souls. This piece is meant to be a warning to Christians that sinning may cause them to go to hell. It represents the moment of judgment at someone's death. So it's the moment where Jesus is determining whether you're going to heaven or whether you're going to hell. So I'm not religious at all, but I was really interested in the Gothic element of this piece. It's interesting that it was created to actually terrify people about hell. And I find that absolutely intriguing. People came all over just to be scared into doing the right thing so they could go to heaven. This next piece we're going to talk about is the funerary art piece. It is Etruscan and it's called The Sarcophagus of Spouses. The Etruscan society was largely centered in Etruria, which is modern-day Tuscany. This piece was believed to have been created circa 520 to 510 BCE and is located in the Etruscan Museum in Rome. This piece is actually painted terracotta, which was like a clay that had to be fired, and it had to be fired in pieces because it was so large. The remains of the loved ones would be cremated and placed in a cinerary urn and put in the sarcophagus. This piece was found in Cerveteri, a town in Italy north of Rome. It is the site of a huge necropolis which contains hundreds of tombs. It's actually really beautiful. It was very common to preserve those that had passed away in these types of tombs. It shows an equality between the female and male individuals, social freedom that the Greek women didn't really have at that time, and I find that kind of interesting. It appears they're husband and wife. They sit together in what appears to be possibly a banquet, maybe a funerary banquet for the dead, which was a common thing that they did back in those days. They are holding objects. They were thought to be holding objects that may have been for the purpose of that ceremony. Usually Etruscan statues are archaic and standing and focus on an individual. But here we see two individuals more in a relaxed position. They still have the stylized design and an archaic smile. This piece is pretty incredible because they had to piece it back together from like hundreds of pieces, and that's pretty amazing. But the thing I like the most about this piece is the sense of empowerment that you could see from the women of that time. This next piece, the propaganda art piece, is probably my favorite. I don't know why, but it's incredible. It's called the Augustus Prima Porta. It's carved out of white marble, which I find incredible, and was most likely at one point painted. It is a portrait of Augustus Caesar, who was the first emperor of Rome. The artist is unknown, but it's dated around the 1st century AD, but it was discovered April 20th, 1863 in La Villa Livia at Prima Porta. The statue stands 2.8 meters tall, 6 feet 10 inches, and weighs 1,000 kilograms. Super big. It is now displayed in the Braccia Nuova, new arm of the Vatican Museum. It is likely to be a copy of an original that was made out of bronze. The original sculpture was probably constructed around 20 BC to celebrate Augustus's victory over the Parthians. The way it was used for propaganda is that it shows how capable and strong he was as a leader, and his whole chest plate kind of shows this idea of him being a warrior and him being a descendant of the gods. He's truly believed that he was a descendant of Venus, which made him not only emperor, but a divine leader. The central zone of his chest is where the magic happens. We can see the personification of the gods. The breastplate is a representation of the Pax Romana, which is the period of peace that lasted about 100 years in Roman history. In the middle, you can see the Parthian king returning the crosses to Augustus Caesar after Augustus's victory over the Parthians. So the reason I chose this piece is just for the sheer intricacy and how incredible it is that they carved this out of marble. The religious and political side of it is interesting, but the art is just amazing. I really do think that art kind of lays groundwork for history by going back and looking at these pieces of art all the way from Greek to Etruscan. We can kind of learn a lot about those cultures just by looking at the art that they made. So I find that really interesting, and classical humanities has been a very fun subject for me, and I've enjoyed this class very much, so thank you.